Folks, I have been railing about the fact that if the black vote doesn't matter, why do these white Republicans fight so hard and expend so much energy in trying to reduce the number of black votes that we cast? You would think that they would try to increase the amount of people who are registered to vote and then don't exercise that right in order to prove their point. So in my mind, obviously the opposite is a fact, that black votes do matter, and the GOP know that it matters, and they're doing everything they can to reduce it. I came across this story and I felt that it deserved to be aired on my media channel. Senator Scarnati refuses Pennsylvania Supreme Court order to turn over map data in gerrymandering case. State Senate President Pro Tem Joe Scarnati, Republican from Jefferson County, Pennsylvania, said Wednesday he would not turn over any data requested by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in the wake of the gerrymandering ruling that Republicans have asked the U.S. Supreme Court to review. Last week, the state high court ruled that Pennsylvania's congressional map was the product of unconstitutional gerrymandering and ordered the General Assembly to submit files that contain the current boundaries of all Pennsylvania municipalities and precincts by noon this past Wednesday. In a letter to the court, Scarnati's lawyer said he would not do so, repeating an argument that they had made in the petition to the U.S. Supreme Court. The state court is overstepping its authority. In light of the unconstitutionality of the court's order and the court's plain intent to usurp the General Assembly's constitutionally delegated role of drafting Pennsylvania's congressional districting plan, Senator Scarnati will not be turning over any data identified in the court orders, the lawyer wrote. While Scarnati's lawyers said in a footnote that the senator does not actually have the requested data, the refusal signals that Scarnati will not comply with any future request that could help the court draw its own map, said Drew Crompton, Senate Republicans' top lawyer. They are trying to ready themselves to draw maps, Crompton said, and Senator Scarnati believes they don't have the power to do that, and we should help them in that, and we shouldn't help them in that effort. Republican lawmakers, including Scarnati, have said the court order does not give them enough time to draw a new map, especially because the justices did not provide a full opinion when they released the order overturning the map. By imposing a tight timeline with little guidance, the Republicans argue the court sets them up to fail, clearing the way for the justices to draw their own map. By late Wednesday, 9 days after its order overturning the map, the court had not yet released a promised opinion explaining what makes the current map unconstitutional. Without it, Republican lawmakers say, they are wary of drawing new congressional districts that could be struck down. Scarnati's letter was one of several filed Wednesday as the parties responded to a court order requesting maps and data. In a separate filing, a lawyer for the General Assembly wrote that lawmakers do not have the requested map files showing the current municipal boundaries because they are produced only once a decade as part of the redistricting process. The General Assembly and its Legislative Data Processing Center do not maintain ESRI-shaped files that contain current boundaries of all Pennsylvania municipalities and districts, the letter reads, directing the court instead to the state website that hosts files with the 2011 boundaries. House Speaker Mike Terzai, Republican from Allegheny, did not have any data to submit, his lawyer said. In declaring the state's congressional map an unconstitutional partisan gerrymander, the state high court ordered a new map redrawn in time for the primary election in May. It gives the General Assembly less than 3 weeks to approve a new map, then have it signed by Governor Wolf. If that does not happen, the justices said in their order they would adopt their own boundaries. Days later, the court issued another order announcing it had retained Stanford University professor Nathan Parsilli as an advisor and requested the current municipal boundaries from the General Assembly. It also requested that parties submit maps and technical data used in expert testimony. Lawyers for the plaintiffs, 18 Democratic voters from across the state, submitted their maps and data Wednesday, as did a lawyer for Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack. Other parties, including Wolf, said they did not have any data to provide. Scarnati and Tarazai have asked the U.S. Supreme Court to block the state court ruling, arguing that the U.S. Constitution gives state legislators the power to run elections. By saying it would intervene and draw its own map, the lawmakers wrote, the state high court takes the power from the legislature. The court has not officially agreed to consider the case, but U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr. has requested a response from the plaintiffs by 4 p.m. Friday. In the meantime, lawmakers have taken the initial steps towards drawing new lines. A shell bill, essentially an empty document that repeals the previous map, passed the state Senate this week and was moved to the House. Legislators hope to amend it later to insert a new map, but they moved the empty bill because of the tight deadline and rules requiring that bills be considered for a certain amount of time. On Monday, Senate Majority Leader Jake Corman said caucus leaders had not yet had productive discussions about a new map because legislators still are awaiting the court's opinion. The current map was adopted in 2011, and Republican lawmakers have said they are wary of redrawing it without receiving guidance on what the court found specifically to be unconstitutional. Until we do, there's no sense sitting down having discussions, Corman said Monday, or else we could be just drawing another map that they think is unconstitutional. The court order gives lawmakers until February 9th to pass a new map and send it to Wolf, who has until February 15th to sign it. Wolf has been holding listening sessions this week to gather public input on redistricting. Okay, folks, this is just an attempt at a delay. In the previous video that I did, these people went into a room and they used computer models in order to draw the current districting lines. So they know damn well that they can go back into that same room and make adjustments to their computer models to more fairly represent the populace in the state of Pennsylvania. But they're claiming that they don't have the same information and computer models that they had back in 2011. They are following the example of North Carolina, who has on at least 5 occasions had their districting lines struck down by their own state Supreme Court. And now Pennsylvania is using its last card by going to the Supreme Court in order to try to get the state Supreme Court's ruling overturned. In my opinion, and again, I'm not a legal scholar, I believe that they are going to lose, because since this is a states' rights issue, this matter has to be determined by the state representatives, both legislatively and judicially. So I believe that the Supreme Court, based on the amount of time between now and February 9th, is going to render an opinion not to hear this matter, which will leave the state court ruling in place. Pennsylvania currently has 18 congressional districts, and I believe of the 18, 13 have Republican representatives. But based on the population, the number should be closer to 9-9. I only hope that the Supreme Court does, in fact, refuse to hear this particular case, and that this guy does attempt not to provide the information that we all know that he has. the state Supreme Court needs to throw this guy into jail for refusing their order, thereby being in contempt of court, and let his ass sit there until he provides, or his group, party, legislature provides the information that the state court is looking for. Even more than that, it would be better for everyone concerned if they would just go back in there and properly redraw the lines so that the people of Pennsylvania are properly represented. Again, this is nothing but an attempt for the Republicans to maintain power in the state of Pennsylvania, and more courts across the land are striking down these various districting lines to give the people more power, more actual say-so in their government. It seems a little funny that in this past presidential election that the people's voices were not heard, and I've referenced the fact that although Donald Trump won the Electoral College, which is outdated in my opinion, especially given the level of expertise as far as recording votes and getting that information to the proper parties. Whereas in the past, the Electoral College was set up because the people just did not know the candidates that were running, and because of the amount of time needed to tabulate the votes, it became unwielding for the people's actual vote to matter. Today, votes can be tabulated and results issued in hours rather than weeks and months. So 3 million more votes for the Democratic candidate didn't help. And it's also been noted that in various states, in order for Democrats to take control of various legislatures, they don't just have to win 51% of the vote. They have to win anywhere north of 57% of the vote to actually make a difference as far as flipping Republican gerrymandered districts into democratically won districts. Gerrymandering at its finest, and Mr. Scarnati has made a decision that even though he's busted as far as partisan gerrymandering is concerned, he doesn't care, because the name of the game is hold on to power by any means necessary.